Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
And good evening, folks. Welcome to another episode of World of Tanks with Scout. And today we're taking a look at the VK3002M. This is the new German Tier 6 medium tank introduced in one of the most recent patches. And I decided to give it a try, and having played it for about a week now, I wanted to share with you all what I have learned. Now, to be honest with you, what kind of makes or breaks this tank is the gun. Taking a look at this tank here, you could be forgiven for thinking that it's a Panther. It looks, to all intents and purposes, like a Panther, but it's not. It is the VK3002M, which is the Tier 6 medium. Panther, of course, being the Tier 7 German medium. But because it comes from the Panther line, it gets this gun right here, the 75mm KWK-42 L70, which for all intents and purposes is the same gun from the Stug at Tier 5. Now, if we take a look at the Stug, where you at, Mr. Stug? We got medium tanks showing here. Let's pull up the tank destroyers and the Stug, and we pull up this gun. You will see that the gun on the Stug is the 75mm PAK-42 L70, but essentially it's the same gun. The rate of fire on the VK3002M is better, 14.29 as opposed to 13.33. But what really makes this gun on the Stug is the accuracy and the aiming time. And you can see here the accuracy on the Stug is 0.33 as opposed to the 0.35 accuracy on the VK3002M. Not quite as good. And again, the aiming time on the Stug, it is 1.7. On the VK3002M, it is 2.3. So you're actually getting, aside from rate of fire, a worse gun on a higher tier vehicle, and that's because it has a turret. It's a medium tank as opposed to a tank destroyer. And I am not convinced that that is enough to make up for the fact that this is in fact a Tier 6 medium tank. Because if we take a look at the VK3002M as compared to some of the other Tier 6 tanks, what you're going to find is that the VK3002M falls a little bit short. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So for purposes of comparison, let's pull up the T3485, and let's pull up the other Tier 6 medium I have, the Jumbo. So you'll see right away that the VK3002M is a much healthier tank than either the Jumbo or the T3485. It has 840 hit points as compared to 730 for the Jumbo and 720 for the T3485. But when you start looking at engine power, that's where things start to get a little bit squirrely. Now, the T3485 has a 600 horsepower engine, 520 for the Jumbo, but the VK3002M has a 700 horsepower engine, which gives it a top speed limit of 55 kilometers per hour, which is even higher than the T3485, let alone the Jumbo with its 35 kilometer per hour speed limit. But you're never going to get to that 55 unless you're on ideal terrain or going downhill. In all realism, the T3485 is the faster tank. And if we look at maneuverability in conjunction with speed, you'll see that the VK3002M only has a 30 degree per second both hull and turret traverse, which is actually worse than the Jumbo, let alone the T-34-85. So what do you get for that sacrifice in maneuverability? Because obviously if we look at armor, the Jumbo is the king of armor. The Jumbo's got more armor than a Tiger. It's got 101 millimeters of whole frontal armor and 152 on the turret front, whereas the VK3002M's only got 60 millimeters of whole front and 100 millimeters of turret front, which is certainly more than the T-34-85, as you can see here. And it's also sloped. We'll move Mr. Jumbo aside here, and you can see that the armor on the front of the VK3002M is sloped, but the fact of the matter is it's not going to save you. I have only ever bounced shots from Tier 5 and below tanks in this particular vehicle. In addition, you can see that the VK3002M does have a gun mantle, a pretty significant gun mantle, but that's just, it's not going to save you. It's only 100 millimeters of turret front armor, and that mantle is not enough. It may be spaced, but it's not going to bounce any shots for you aside from maybe Tier 5 tanks. And then if we go to the sides and rear of the turret, you can see it's only 45 millimeters thick, which is actually worse even than the T-34-85, which is not known for its armor, let alone the Jumbo. If we take a look at view range, you can see that the VK3002M does have a far superior view range at 370 meters as opposed to the Jumbo and the T-34-85, but it's not that much better than the T-34-85, and it does have a better signal range by far than both. So what that means is that you're left with a Tier 6 tank that, for all intents and purposes, really performs better as a tank destroyer than a medium tank. And that took me a long time to get used to, because I like to play my medium tanks like medium tanks. And the fact of the matter is, you don't have the armor of the Jumbo or the speed and maneuverability of the T-34-85 to be a medium tank. You really live or die by your gun and engaging folks at range, and that takes a little bit of getting used to. Once you do get used to that, the VK3002M can perform very well, but I gotta be honest with you, I'm not really sold on it. I really like my medium tanks to play like medium tanks, and I just don't think the VK3002M does that. I think it performs more like a tank destroyer, and I think careful analysis of the stats backs that up. So I wanted to go over that with you right quick, and without further ado, I want to show you a little bit of gameplay with the VK3002M and let you make up your own mind. So here we go with some gameplay with the new German Tier 6 VK3002M. So here we are on port. It is a Tier 6 game, but there's only 3 Tier 6s per team. The rest of the teams are Tier 4 or Tier 5. And this is the kind of matchmaking which really favors the VK3002M, because with its really low alpha damage, it excels at taking out lower tier tanks. Where you're going to run into a problem with the VK3002M is trying to engage higher tier tanks, heavy tanks, with only 135 alpha damage average. So immediately we're going to push south through the rail lines and see if we can make contact somewhere, either Vicinity Golf 0, Juliet 0, Hotel 0, or all the way over down the 7 line, Vicinity Hotel 7, Juliet 7. Pull into the trees here and just be patient and wait and see what we can see. There's a Hellcat. Wow, he backed up. Lee's behind the building there. Now our Lee is in between us and the Hellcat. And what I'm gonna do here is just play it cool, play to the strengths of the VK, which, unlike most other medium tanks, is not rushing in, but rather sitting back, being patient, and taking shots where you have them. Look at the accuracy of that gun. That is the strength of the VK. Excuse me, 3002M. Waiting on that Stewart to come back out. Looks like he's thinking better of it. We've got a screen up in front of us, so we're going to go ahead and move forward. Looking at that Hellcat, but want to get out of the street first. Don't know what else is behind him. Don't want to be exposed to everything.
Der ging voll durch ihre Panzerung. Der ging voll durch ihre Panzerung. Der ging voll durch ihre Panzerung.
And there you see the rate of fire and the accuracy chewing apart. Again, a tier 6 tank destroyer. This tank works really well fighting equal tier or lower opponents. And that is a perfect example of that. Now you can see we're moving in. And what we're going to do is use our larger health pool and the accuracy and penetration of this gun to start bullying some of these lower tier opponents. Oop, tank destroyer on the right, he can't see us. And there we go, that's what we want. Come right up behind this M8A1 and then use the sheer weight and mass of the tank against the opponent. Now we're going to continue our flanking maneuver. Come in behind this M5. Can't win for losing. But we get him, and now we're going to continue on and assault the M3 Lee from the rear. There's him, and now we're going to come on behind the Wolverine. Really badly aimed shot there, kind of a donk shot on my part, but that Wolverine's doomed. Now we're going to go back and get the SU-85 who's been chasing us. Now he's tracked and he's dead. And as you can see, our team is pretty much mopped up the rest of the opposing team. It's already 13-7, and we're not quite 5 minutes into the game. So what I'm doing here is continuing to push west in hopes of finding their artillery. Their M37, I suspect, is down in Kilo 1. But no, he's actually pushed up. Good play on their M37. Most artillery will sit down there in the corner and either die in place trying to derp someone that's coming around a corner, or back up and throw themselves into the water. Really didn't expect that M37 to be there. And that is pretty much the game. The Matilda is up there by our flag. Managed to push all the way up north. Who put that rock pile there? Managed to push all the way into the northeast corner of the map, but he's not going to make it. As you can see, he's being surrounded, and he will die before we can get there in the VK3002M. So what this really demonstrates is what the VK3002M is capable of doing against equal and lower tier opponents. The problem is you can't really play the VK3002M like this against higher tier tanks. It just won't work. You don't have the alpha damage to do it. So as you can see, really easy to steamroll lower tier tanks in the VK3002M because you're guaranteed to penetrate, and your 135 average alpha damage doesn't hurt you. Now let's take a look of how this tank performs in a higher tier game. So what we have here is a tier 7 game on Erlenberg, but there's only 4 tier 7s per team, so it's not god awful. The vast majority of the field is either the same tier as us or lower tier.
Legen wir los.
And what we're going to show here is how you can use the accuracy and the penetration of the L70 75mm to best effect. I'm going to speed this up just a little bit because what I'm doing right now basically is just sitting here. As you can see, I don't have a platoon, and I'm waiting to see where the rest of the team goes in order to determine where best to place myself to have the best effect on the battlefield. Now what I wanted to do here was push east, but as you can see, no one on the team really went east at all to try to take the southern portion of the hill vicinity Hotel 9. So I decided to come up here, and again, like we talked about in the garage, basically act as a tank destroyer. Trying to get a shot at this KV-1S. Don't think he's going to come back out and accommodate us. So we're going to continue to play conservatively, use our team's spot, and then do what damage we can. Good shot on the VK3001P. Just missed that. There's another good shot. Someone who puts a meaty hit in that VK. Tried to go for the kill there. Didn't think he was going to slow down. Unfortunately he did, and we missed the shot. We're going to back up before we get spotted, and one of his KV-1s or KV-1Ss puts a shot into our flank. Trying to get a shot on this KV-1 here, but the buildings are in the way. Cognizant of the fact that they do have an AMX-13 artillery, we're going to back up and continue to shift. You can see already there attempting to engage the KV-1 and the KV-1S that we spotted. That was spotted, I should say, in the center of town. And again, cognizant of the fact that they do have very dangerous artillery and that it's tier 5 and could hurt us a lot in a direct hit, we're going to shift our position and orient further south. Trying to line up a shot on that T-43. Want to make sure that we minimize the exposure of the tank, because as I said in the garage, this tank really does not take shots very well from equal tier opponents, let alone from T-43s and Tigers. So that's why you saw me scooting back a little bit there, trying to minimize the amount of tank that was sticking out past that wall. And there's their ELC AMX, who's their scout. See if we can put a shot into him. Again, demonstrating the accuracy of this tank. I put too much lead on that shot, and that one might have hit had he not been killed. See our tracks eat a shot there, so we immediately back out and then go back to our alternate position rather than coming back out where we were, because again, this tank just doesn't take hits all that well. Trying to line up a shot on the Stug. No dice. We're going to go for the T-34, who I was hoping was high enough above the buildings down there in the south to get a shot on him, but apparently not. So we're going to pull forward a little bit and put some cheeky shots into this T-43. And that's it for the T-43. Now trying to line up a shot on the Tiger. No dice there, and we've already gotten a kill in this location, so we may as well go ahead and shift to an alternate position again. just being cognizant of the fact that people are looking for easy kills. The VK 3002M is not the most well-armored tank in the world, so it behooves you to continue shifting and to not stay in the same position for more than a few minutes at a time. Put a good shot into the Comet, I should say, and now we're trying to line up a shot on the Tiger because he's the highest priority threat here. You see here we've got a keyhole shot, but there's not much space for missing. There we go, we tracked the Tiger. And now what I'm doing, I realize the angle is terrible and I will probably not penetrate even the side of a Tiger at this angle. You see me going to premium rounds in the hopes of doing so, but really what I want to do is keep him tracked. Now I'm putting shots into his turret, trying to penetrate his gun mantle. That one went left a little bit, hit the building, and there's still a little bit of them sticking out there. We take a shot and it penetrates, as does the follow-up shot. Probably should have sent another blind shot there. It probably would have hit, but because we were shooting premium rounds for a minute there, no sense in wasting the credits. Gone back to standard AP rounds now. Achieved the effects that I wanted to on the Tiger. No sense in continuing to shoot premium rounds. Trying to line up a shot on the KV-1S here. Buildings. Probably going to be in the way, I know that. What I'm hoping is to catch him in between a building and put a shot into his flank and hopefully track him. Maybe even set his engine compartment on fire. Now, I had a good shot on the KV-1S, but the SU-100 finishes him off first. And again, like that, trying to line up, there you go, had it for a second. Flank shots, keyhole shots on the KV-1S. And again, that is really where the VK3002M shines, played almost like a tank destroyer. You see it's 10-all now, it's a very close game. Apparently SU-100 wants my spot. So what we're going to do is continue to play conservatively, guard our health pool very cautiously, and keep this 150mm penetration gun in play. Tried to track the KV-1S there. Wasn't really hoping for a penetration. What I wanted was a track, and that would allow the T-43 to get a better shot on him, and maybe even for me to pull up to where I'm at now and get a better shot. And there's a clutch shot at the KV-1S that goes in and gets us the kill. Now we're up by one tank. Still a close game. 4 tanks alive on either side. That's some very dangerous tank destroyers, particularly the Nashorn, which I'm afraid of. And what I've done now is decided that it's time to go ahead and move up. We've done a good job of inflicting damage while conserving our health pool. What little is left of the enemy team is probably damaged, and now is the time to go up and employ this tank like the medium tank that it is, and use its superior health pool to finish the game, as opposed to throwing that health pool away at the beginning and just getting decimated. Now you can see here we've got shots on the Tiger. That one doesn't quite penetrate. Really expected that one to get me the kill, but it didn't. Instead, the Tiger kills him. Three to 2 now, and what I want to do is go ahead and push across the bridge and spot for the Tiger and the SU-100, both of whom have, while their gun isn't quite as accurate as mine, it does a lot more alpha damage, so there is an excellent chance that they can get a one-shot kill on these 2 enemy vehicles that remain. So we're going to go up and spot for them. And what I'm doing right now is I'm typing and I'm telling them, hey, you're going to get like one shot when I go up on this hill and spot, because when the Nashorn and the Jagdpanzer 4 combined fire on me, I'm not going to last too long. So I want to ensure that they're ready for the spots before I start driving forward. And there's the Nashorn. Not where I expected them to be. I thought for sure they would be up on the high ground, but apparently not. Still in all, that's okay. We'll take that. It's actually more favorable to us that he's down here. And as you can see, he's traversing, trying to keep his gun on us. And what I'm doing is just staying in the low ground and trying to keep him looking at me. You can see me there telling my team, hey, he's looking at me, move up and take the shot. All I want to do right now is keep him occupied. There he is again. Tried to use auto aim in order to move up and judge exactly where my gun was and pay attention to my driving. Bit me in the behind the first time. As you can see, it's serving us well now. And we are chewing that Nashorn apart. Unfortunately, the SU-100 gets the kill. It's okay though, we'll take it. And now there's only the enemy Jagdpanzer 4 left. And we're going to push on up along with the Tiger and the SU-100, see if we can get, if not a kill, then at least spotting points. Because it won't take long for us to pass the SU-100 and the Tiger. Incredibly, there's the Jagdpanzer. I hadn't been paying attention, didn't realize he was over there the whole time. And the Tiger finishes him off with a nice clutch shot. And that's game, 15-11, really close game. Let's take a look at the results screen. So as you can see, that was good enough for our second class mastery badge. I have since gotten a first class mastery badge in the VK3002M, but not yet an ace tanker badge. We also got the master gunner ribbon and the sharpshooter ribbon. Taking a look at the team scores, you can see that we very quietly scored 1,977 points of damage. It's good enough for second place for our team. We also got 829 experience. Again, good enough for second place on the whole team in a Tier 7 game. So really not a bad result in the VK3002M. If we take a look at the detailed report, you can see that we fired 36 shots, 26 of which hit. Unfortunately, of the 26 hits, only 17 penetrated, so the damage done was quite low. In addition, we took three hits, 2 of which penetrated and 1 incredibly bounced, which doesn't happen all that often in this vehicle. So there you have it, folks. The VK3002M. In my opinion, really it's more of a tank destroyer than a medium tank, and I think that if you play it as such, you'll have infinitely more success than trying to flank, move forward, and be on the front lines like you would in a T-34-85, a Jumbo, or an Easy 8. I really think this tank excels as a support tank as opposed to a flanker or a knife fighter like the T-34-85 or the Jumbo. But that, that's just my 2 cents. The bottom line is, if you're looking for a medium tank at Tier 6 that has a good health pool, an accurate gun, and high penetration, this is without a doubt the tank that you're looking for, especially if you're frustrated with the subpar penetration of the gun on the Jumbo and the Easy 8. This is it. Just recognize that you're going to have to employ it carefully to get the most out of it. So that's it tonight, folks. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.